Hey there, Ari here, and today I'm going over another dungeon, Jade Temple. Jade Temple route, for the most part, doesn't really change. It's pretty much the same every week, whether it's Fort or Tyran. The I guess the main things that you can change in the route are how you pull in the courtyard, primarily. But we'll jump straight into this, and we'll go over all the pulls, positioning, etc. So for this water speaker, normally I get the first kick, and then I just go down and pull more. I will try to pick up these additional droplets, because normally most groups will lost this first pull. And on fort weeks, we only pull one of the water elementals. On Tyran weeks, we will pull two. And then, once again, very important, water speaker, make sure it needs to be kicked. Our feral died. I believe we missed a kick there. The water droplets do hurt a lot, so keep that in mind. But once the water droplets are dead, we pick up the second water elemental, and then I tank them down here in this corner so that my group can line, safely around the corner. And this was a sanguine week, so I'm just dragging it forward a little bit so that when the sanguine drops, I can pull back. And then perfectly again, it's in the corner. One thing to note is the pillars on this wall right here, like these pillars, these little nooks are line of sight as well. So initially when I pull it to the top of the stairs, I don't pull it to the bottom of the start because the second water elemental can get accidentally pulled. So normally we pull it to the middle of the stairs, and you can line on the second little pillar right here where my mouse is, cursor. Usually you can dip in around there, but you kind of have to like get the water elemental as close to the wall as possible, usually. Alright, so we're gonna finish up this water elemental, and then we're gonna move on to the next. Oh, I pulled early, actually. Would not recommend. This does hurt a lot. The splashes from the droplets do hurt a lot. Okay, keep that in mind. They do hurt a lot. And especially if you don't kick the first blast on the water speaker, because it normally casts a frostbolt at you. That's magic damage. If you don't have a defensive up, you will die. I have definitely died to that and the next pull. Next pull I've pulled and kind of died. Even with Incarn, you have to have a defensive up, otherwise you can get one shot. We have opted to MC on this pull, and then I pull it into this little I guess cubby, so that my DPS can line either on the left or the right. Makes it a little easier. Right here for this pull, you kind of want to kill the first water speaker when the elemental gets to around like 60%, 50%, somewhere around there. I was talking the water elemental the entire time. Probably not the right way to go about it. You want to target the reason why you want to kill the first water speaker if you do MC is so that you can kill the second water speaker with the elemental at the same time. And one other thing about mind control, or dominate mind actually, it replaces mind control. Dominate mind, when I don't know how the aggro issue works, but when dominate mind falls off or they release the mob, even though you taunt it once, it is not enough. After the taunt duration, it'll start running at the whoever. It'll start running at the priest essentially, and you will have to taunt it again. So if you do ever run with mind control tech, you may want to drop a vortex, so that the mob won't be able to run over and melee your priest. So real quick for this boss, specifically from a Guardian Druid standpoint, I will sometimes press Bristling Fur and end a defensive, and I'll soak the knockups to gain rage. It's extra damage. For the most part, it's fairly safe. You will take damage, obviously, but as long as you don't get hit by like the beam, then it should be fairly safe. Oh, I actually do something very degenerate there. I popped an SI and ran through the beam, plus rage or plus bristling for more rage. So just something you can do to min max if you really want to. You won't be needing those SIs for a while, so you can opt to do that. And then as far as kicks go, it's a 3-man kick rotation, generally speaking. It could be 2 melee, 1 ranged. I believe if it's 1 melee, 2 range, then you might need a 4th kick. But the boss, generally between the washaways, will cast about 4. Sometimes there'll be 3, sometimes there'll be 5. It's a little random. There isn't too much else about this boss fight. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward boss. The only thing I would point out is on storming weeks, do try to soak up the storming for your DPS / healer. You remember, you can't die to the knockup, but you definitely can die to the beam. But you know, the rest of your group will 100% die to the knockup, the water geysers. So would recommend trying to soak storming if possible. Alright, I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. If you can, try to bring a rogue in this dungeon so that you can shroud here. We pop pots, invis pots here. So for here, normally I'll have one. So melee DPS can take care of Shaw solo with a kick, for the fear, and then always tell your DPS, if possible, to stop the haunting gazes. Always try to have a defensive up for haunting gazes / dark claws. For the fish, it has to be 2 kicks. You cannot solo kick that fish. So what I normally do is I kick first, and then I have my priest kick second, and then I kick third. And then if a 4th does get off, then you flame your DPS. Right there, I was trying to range the peck, but I was a little close. Didn't expect to take it. Definitely scared me quite a bit. And then right there, I took a second peck so that I could get bristling fur, just, damage. On Tyrant weeks, I do pull the bird with the previous pack, and then I just incarn. So as you can see here, I'm just ranging the pecks. You don't have to go too far, but you definitely want to. And then we chain in a little bit. And then as you can see again, focus kick. I have the monkey focused. So for the beetle, we do try to stop every single golden barrier. However, what you can alternatively opt to do is you can have your real quick. So you can let the first golden barrier go off, and then it won't cast golden barrier for another like 20-30 seconds. But yeah, you can plan for taking 1 golden barrier and just, having some kind of external, or everybody pops defensives, whatever it might be. So you can plan for that, and then afterwards, you want to burn the beetle before it gets a second one off, and then you can obviously stop the one towards the end. But it will not cast it again for a long time. From a tank POV, however, the beetle will continue doing staggering blows, and that is a debuff that lowers your your HP percent. I think it was like 10%. So you want to be careful of that. It is a fizz hit, so if you have incarn, it should be okay. I don't have incarn here, but I get it up just kind of like halfway through the pull a bit. Unfortunate Sanguine healing the bird, but you know, at least we have Incarn now. I generally would not recommend pulling the bird with this pack. It is very, very messy. There's already very little room to move with. That plus the bird circle is just, it's very bad. And then if the Hosen ever gets its cast off, we don't worry about that too much because we have 2 Sues. It isn't enrage and you can dispel it. And then one last thing I guess is for the tiger, you can also place down a vortex for the jump. Usually I like to put the vortex down for the first leap so that I don't have to worry too much about future ones. So what you can plan to do is you can vortex the first one and then let the first golden barrier go off in a pug group. Usually that's probably like the easiest and safest way to do it. That way you don't have to worry about random golden barriers going off in the middle of the pull when there's a random bleed from the tiger, somebody accidentally dies. For this boss fight, we like to swap at 6 stacks because we have multiple classes, or we have 2 classes that can't necessarily control random procs. So from a Guardian Druid, it's Galactic Guardian. When it procs, it hits both of them with Moonfire. You can't do much about it. And then same for the Evoker. He has random procs as well. Not random procs, but rather... actually, I don't know if it's a proc or not. It's not necessarily a proc, but it's more so him being able to press a certain ability. So if you don't want to cleave, but you want to maintain Thrash, kind of step off to the side. One thing to note is Thorns of Iron does not proc a stack. So you can kind of min-max it. It's in the center if you have a lot of rage. And then you can kind of press Iron Fur for Thorns of Iron damage on both. And it will not trigger it. Which is a little weird, but yeah. Thrash and everything else does though. On second note, actually, I might be wrong about that Thorns of Iron. I paid attention to it before, but not in enough detail to where I can 100% say it doesn't proc it, but I'm fairly certain. I'm like 95% certain it does not proc a stack on the guys. Right here for this Infestor, fairly simple. Just make sure you have, again, Mistweaver, focused target so that you can use your focus kick. That way you can prio damage the Infestor. The Infestor is a massive time sink, and it is dangerous on quite a few weeks. Bolster specifically, though. Yeah, Bolster specifically, yes. Because when it does, and there's like, you know, extra Shaws out, bolstered little Shaws exploding is not a fun time. And then same goes for Sanguine Week as well. If you kill the other trash, I believe you'll see it in this run actually, where we Sanguine heal the Infestor. It has happened to us quite often, so just be aware of that. Alright, now for the Dark Claw minion. So, Dark Claws can be ranged, but it's really scary. So for this minion, usually pop a defensive if possible. Or you have to, I should say. You have to pop a defensive for the Dark Claw. The scary part about this pull, even though it's a single pull, is because the Guardian, the Panda Guardian, his Rising Sun Kick, it's not called that, but that's the icon I remember, does also hurt a lot, especially on pull, because you don't have Iron Fur stacks up yet. And so there is an overlap where you can get both Dark Claw and the Rising Sun Kick close to the same time, and it makes it very, very scary. Important thing to note, Dark Claw does do more damage than Haunting Gaze, so Dark Claw is definitely a lot more scary than Haunting Gaze. Just want to put that, just point that out. Okay, so this pull real quick. I didn't say it before, but we do opt to lust this pull. We didn't lust the second boss, which most people do. We do like to lust the Courtyard, primarily because of our comp. We're very reliant on our 2-minute cooldowns, and especially for me, I'm very reliant on my Incarn. Without Incarn in this Courtyard area, it is very, very scary. You'd have to be kiting for a very long time, and so we'd like to do a big pull here and just try to blow everything up as fast as possible. During Incarn here, it should be fairly safe. I say safe, but like it's safer than Dark Claw minions. Again, Haunting Gazes do hurt, but they do hurt less than Dark Claws. Haunting Gazes will chunk you for like probably 50% of your health, something like that, as compared to Dark Claws, which are, a lot more. And then inside of Incarn, it should be a lot safer. If you have Incarn plus a defensive, it'll probably do like 25% of your health, Haunting Gaze. So that's what I mean by like safer. It still hurts a lot, but it is a lot safer. And the way we normally do this pull is we have our Feral and Evoker kicking the Mistweaver. I kick one of the Haunting Gazes, and then our S-Priest is on the other Haunting Gaze. Not Haunting Gaze, sorry. I meant the Fear cast. And then usually, since the Priest can only get one of the kicks on the Fears, I'll Roar. Because those are the targets I'm watching anyways. I'm watching the Haunting Shaws. I'm watching their Haunting Gaze cast, so I know when the Fear cast is going off, and so I'll usually be able to roar the other one. And right here we pull it in because I have Incarn up again. Our Infestor healed a lot in Sanguine, as you could tell, so I decided to just continue chain pulling with my Incarn, make up a bit of time. I only do this if my team has defensives up. So I asked them what kind of defenses we had up, and we said, oh, we have Zephyr, we do still have defensives, so I decided to chain it in. As you can see, that was like 10 little Shaws. And then I was about to go pull the other pack, but I decided not to, primarily because I don't have Incarn. We still have a Dark Claw minion out, and so it becomes very sketchy for me. I decided not to do it. I believe Dark Claw is like 15-yard range, something like that, perhaps. Might be 10, might be a little less, but you do have to be a good amount away, a good distance away. All right, so for this pack, I want to say I have died. I think I do die in this run on this pack. I'm not entirely sure because I am low on defensives and I do not have Incarn. I'm not sure though. I might be wrong. We'll see. Maybe not actually. I do Tooth and Claw that, and I still have Barkskin, so that one doesn't hurt as much. Okay, maybe not. But I have died to this before with no defensives. Usually I can pop Incarn here, and then it'll be up again on Tyrant weeks for the second phase of the boss. But timers are always varying for us because our runs in Jade Temple are rarely clean. This is probably one of our cleaner pulls, and this is only on a 24, so this was like probably a month ago, perhaps. The 25 is definitely doable. We haven't really been able to get a 25 Jade Temple. We've gotten like once, maybe twice, but just difficult. We've had a couple of hiccups here and there. Alright, I'm not going to go too much into the first phase of this boss because it's very simple. Alright, in the second phase though, however, I did pop Incarn early, and there was a reason for it, is because I want Incarn for the first pull out after this boss. And so I popped Incarn early, otherwise it would not be off cooldown. Since this is a fort week, I'm not too worried about this boss. But Incarn plus 1 defensive is usually, or not 1 defensive, Incarn usually plus like a Tooth and Claw proc is very safe. And on fort weeks, I don't think you even need to. You just press Frenzied Regions and you'll be okay. But then after that, always save your Tooth and Claw procs for it. Bark Skin plus Frenzied Regen is fine. Rage of the Sleeper plus Frenzied Regen is fine. It's always going to be something plus 1 Frenzied Regen. And you should be able to take 6 hits. If it ever goes to 7, just, flame your DPS. On Tyrant weeks, it is a lot harder. Always try to overlap a Tooth and Claw proc with Bark and with the Rage. SI should be sufficient by itself. Incarn, hopefully you can do Incarn plus a Tooth and Claw proc for the first one. Otherwise, you probably will have to do Incarn plus Bark Skin on a high enough key on Tyrant weeks. But generally speaking, for Tyrant weeks, my sequence is Incarn Rage, Incarn Bark Skin, SI, plus a healer external. Because I play with this priest, we just have extras. So I feel very safe, but SI should be sufficient. And then for the one after, you can SI again. If you have to. Generally, I will save that SI for a future one. I'll use a healer external plus Bark Skin. Bark Skin should be up by then. And then, oh no, sorry, not Bark Skin. Yes, Bark Skin. Did I say Incarn with Rage on the first one? I meant Incarn with Bark on the first one, and then Incarn Rage on the second. That way Bark will be up on the fourth. And then on the fifth, I'll probably use another SI, and then on the sixth, I'll Rage again, and then that one, I usually call for healer externals for the last 3. But again, if you don't have healer externals, it should be okay. SI should be sufficient for 1 by itself. So 1-2 is Incarn plus Bark Rage. And then you'll have SI for 3rd. 4th is Bark. And then 5th SI, 6th Rage again. Actually, those timings don't sound right. I don't remember actually. I might be one off somewhere. I think I am one off somewhere. Maybe, not sure. Real quick though, going into this pull. As you can see here, Guardian fucks me completely with these bolts on me. I wasn't paying attention to the bolts, but I did eat 2 of them, and that was very, very dangerous for me. But that is also why I want Incarn on this pull, because triple Guardians is very scary. We do opt to MC one of the Mistweavers. So right here, it's just 1 Mistweaver, 1 Water Speaker, very manageable. And then the 3 guardians obviously will be kicking you, but it should be fine as long as you have Incarn. You have a lot of Iron First stacks, should be fairly safe. Right there, the Mistweaver got loose and meleeed our healer to death. Like I said again, it is very, very dangerous. And then I believe on the next pack is probably one of our most painful packs to deal with because it's triple casters. I'm not sure if we MC in the next one or not. I think we do because we do have a lot of time. This was a fairly clean run, so we probably did MC one of them, but it is very scary. For this one, I can technically solo the Mistweaver. So what I normally do as a Guardian Druid is I'll usually kick the first Mistweaver cast, Disorienting Roar, or Typhoon Knock the second cast, and then I'll have kick again, and then Typhoon or Disorienting Roar, whichever one I didn't, for the fourth cast, kick again, and then for the fifth one I'll have War Stomp, and then 6 I kick again. So you can opt to do that, but generally speaking, we never do that because we are lacking on kicks. So I'll usually have to use Disorienting Roar or Typhoon for something else because we just haven't really coordinated this pack well enough. So as you can see here, we had the beam go off. None of us had kicks up yet. Mine did come up towards the very end, I think. I could just be trolling. Yeah, mine just came off cooldown, yeah. Luckily though, we do have a lot of time. The rest of the dungeon went fairly smoothly, so that was a nice plus. Okay, so for this pull, once again, very scary. Usually speaking, the Dark Claws, as you can see, are fairly staggered. Not fairly staggered, but they're staggered enough to where you can heal up a lot of it with Frenzied Regen. Generally speaking, there'll be like a minute, or not a minute, a second, at least a 1 second gap between each Dark Claw, except for one double cast. So right here, okay, that was less than a second, but generally speaking, there should be at least a 1 second gap. So right there, 2 of them went off, and then probably gonna get another one, and then another one. As you can see, they're like a second apart. So normally what I do on pull though is Incarn Rage. Incarn Rage plus Barkskin will take care of a full set. A set being the 3 Dark Claw casts and Haunting Gaze casts. So that's one set. Usually it'll be enough. And then on the second set, I'll press SI. And then I will press another SI. However, what I do normally like to do is I don't press anything yet for... it depends. So because SI it doesn't last a very long duration, usually speaking, I will press SI after the first cast goes off. And then I'll kind of heal it up with the Frenzy Regen, and then I'll SI the second cast that I hear. There is a chance where first cast is early because for maybe your group knocked or your group stunned on the next cast. Like say for example, your group has an AoE stun, and then they hear the first, or they see the first Dark Claw go off, tank spikes in health, and then they start AoE stunning, and so that delays the next 3 casts. And so because of that, if you pop SI on the first cast, it might wear off for 2, 3, 4, and Hence, it makes it so it makes it difficult because then you'll have to kite for quite a long time. And so I usually like to have the first cast go off unless it's a double. Okay, if I notice it's a double, then you have to press SI. And I know it is very, very quick. Those casts are very fast, and you do need to react fast and make that judgment fast as well. And this is where I would recommend getting Relo's dungeon or spell CDs on nameplate dungeon Mikora, so that you'll be able to see the cooldown, the countdown timer. It's slightly off in Jade Temple. However, you can definitely also hear it. And I also have an additional Mikora bar that shows the cast. So that way, you know, I know there are a lot coming. Unfortunately, our evoker died on pull there. But maybe a little blessing because, you know, one less ad in the intermission. And for this first set of ads, we didn't really have CDs. For this boss, we usually like to group up on X and then move to blue. You want to move as a group for two reasons. Number one, they're grouped up, easier to hit, easier to cleave. And number two, easier to CC. We drop the vortex. We have double vortex, so normally I think it's the Feral who drops the first one usually. He drops one, and then I'll drop one afterwards once I see them get, you know, pulled back. Intermissions are slightly over 1 minute apart. They're slightly above that, so you will have a vortex for every set. So right here, as you can see, the moment they come out, our ranged move over towards X side, and so they're all running in the same direction. This is very key. And then I'll drop the second vortex. I dropped it slightly late. I should have dropped it a little early. You don't want to drop it too early though, because otherwise it'll get vortex gripped into, or I don't want to drop it too early because otherwise it'll get gripped back into my Feral's vortex. But then because I also have mine up, it'll instantly go back forward. Aside from that, this boss does melee hard. However, it should be very comfortable. It doesn't do enough to where you're actually scared or anything. It's just, you know, melee's hard is all. Make sure you actually rotate your defensives during the regular phase. Intermission doesn't matter at all. You will not die during intermission. What you do want to do though is you do want to have your range or your DPS players kind of position around you. You want to be in the center so that your After the Wildfire helps heal every single player, because the boss does randomly do its Wither Will on different targets. So it can hurt quite a bit. I think that's pretty much about it. The main things I will point out as far as incarn timings go is that's where the variance in the Courtyard pulls go. Because you're so reliant on incarn to survive on a lot of these pulls, I will dynamically pull Courtyard depending on when I have incarn. So right here I have incarn, I pull big, and then because, you know, we healed the Infestor again, like I said, I did get my incarn quite a bit, or not quite a bit faster, but rather I had my incarn up again while we were still killing this Infestor, and so I decided to just chain in again. But usually speaking, we do that big pull, and then I'll have incarn almost up, and I'll usually pull that Dark Claw minion pack, and I'll pop defensives. I'll usually pop like a Barkskin Rage for like the first two hits, and then my incarn will be back up. Then I chain into the other one with incarn, and you should be okay. If you don't feel okay, then either pop the SIs. Well, you definitely should pop the SIs, and or kite. But the key thing for this dungeon is just, you know, understanding what can one-shot you and what cannot. If it does not one-shot you, then you're fine. If it does one-shot you, then you're dead. Those are the two things, okay? That's all it is. If you just need to know whether it can one-shot you or not. If it can one-shot you, need to have personal. If it cannot one-shot you, don't panic. Do not press a personal. Just press frenzied regions. It is very important to kind of plan out your defensives in this key. Not plan out, but rather stagger your defensives. You can plan it out for the last pull, because that's important. You can also plan out this courtyard pull if you want to do this big one. But like I said, again, generally speaking, it's just, you know, knowing what can actually kill you and what cannot. If I know the Haunting Gaze cannot kill me, I will not press a defensive, and I will just press a frenzied region. If I know that it can be synced, then I'll be ready for a Barkskin / SI, things like that. And then, yeah. Alright, that's pretty much about it. Good luck in your next Jade temples. Hopefully, we'll never have to see this kind of magic tank buster dungeon again. And I'll see you in the next one.